Okay, so let's get started. So we will be doing two problems today. So firstly, we will go ahead with this longest substring without repeating characters. This is the first problem. So this is the problem that you are given a string and you need to find the longest substrings without any repeating character. So this is one example. ABC, ABC, BB. So ABC is the longest substring which has no repeating character. Similarly here, so this is the problem statement that you are given a string. You need to find the longest substring without any repeating character. So any idea how can you solve this?
Sliding window approach.
Sorry? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Sliding window approach.
Can you elaborate what you're saying?
So
Anybody else?
Aditya, can we try with keeping a character frequency kind of a map, and and we can keep two pointers, one at the beginning and one we'll keep moving as soon as we hit two. Like some character, we have a hash map collision,
Mhm.
then we move our initial till the initial pointer to the point where there is again mm, that count becomes one for the one which was repeated.
For example, here,
For
how
example, let's say A, B, C. I keep inserting into my hash map frequency that first I insert A, then I insert B, then C. Then when A comes, I have a collision.
Hmm.
I see that, and I also keep my max length so far. So my max length will be 3 till now. When A comes, I see that A already exists in the map.
Mhm.
So I remove A from, as in my start was start of the window which was at A. I remove A from there and move it to B.
Mhm.
And now my then again so yeah, at that point my all the counts are one. So if I have BCA, then my count is still one for each one of them, and then I proceed with the next B. When I see next B, I again bring it out, uh, the starting B, and similarly we can keep proceeding.
Yep, that sounds correct. But how will you know that? So let's say when you get this A, so
Mhm.
how do you know that this A has occurred before?
So
Looking
I'll
up in the
keep
dictionary.
a, yes, I can keep a, in map I can see if it contains when I'm uh, inserting any new number. First, I'll check if it already exists.
Mhm.
If it exists, then it means that it's a repeated character. I have to.
Doesn't mean so it is repeated only if you started from here. Let's say
Mhm,
your window is starting from here,
mhm.
but your dictionary would have already have this A. So how will you ignore this A?
I also keep a count of it, right? So in my character frequency map, I keep that this character, this is the frequency. If it is one, then it is repeated. If I'm moving ahead
Yep.
and next one comes, I'll have to increase it to two. Then I'll keep on reducing it to one till that once it becomes one, then I'll move my pointer to that
Let's say
particular.
let's take this example,
Mhm,
right? Now you have A, B, C, and when you get A, so you look it up in the dictionary, you see that it exists. So you treat that this. So now you get A, that A has been repeated. So now how will you find that? How will you determine that you have to start from B? You how will you know that you need to start from B? Like what will you store in the dictionary? Just the
So
number. It is a map.
no, I'll keep the number and the counter.
Counter as in
Count of so dictionary element like A1, B1, C1.
okay. That doesn't seems to be working actually. So A, B, C. When you get another A, then what? Then you only know that this A is repeated. So what do you do now?
So can we again initialize the hash to with the blank value, and then again we can check if I will again empty the hash and then again keep the count of each character ABC again max length it is less than the max
No,
length,
I
so max
think
length will not be
Aman,
updated.
in this case, Aman, I feel if you reinitialize the hash, so it's not necessary that it is ABC. It can be BACA. So in that case, we have to come to C.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Yeah,
Aditya,
yeah. Go ahead.
can I give a try?
Yeah, please.
Can we use here two-pointer approach? Like we will take I and J. Initially I and J are at 0. J will move. Okay, and there will be one counter. Okay, that will capture value of between J minus I. Okay, so J will move. J will reach to B. J will reach to C, and as soon as J will reach to A, the value of array of index of 4 is A, and value of array of I is also A. So we will we'll start moving our I pointer.
Yeah, I lost you there. So you have 2 pointers. One pointer is at 0th index, and another one where?
Is also at 0th index, and another pointer will start moving, okay, until our until A comes up. Okay, so we have a
Okay.
count of this
So
string,
let
and
me
we
give
will
you
move.
an example.
Neha, in that case, so
A,
yeah.
So let me give you example A, B, B, A. So let's repeat your approach now. So you have both the pointers at A. Then you keep incrementing until you get A, but B has already repeated itself, right? A, B, B, A.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Is it something that we can try as a graph traversal that not visited somehow we need to keep track of it?
Try to
I
elaborate.
don't.
Yeah. Concretize what you want to say, and
I
then
want that. Okay, let's assume that all the characters are something like vertices of a graph, and
all
then
the
I'll keep
characters
on.
are vertices of a graph. So if there are n characters, there are n vertices.
N unique characters.
Okay. Now
I will start with A. I'm assuming that this is a path that is given. Probably I start with A, and then since I visited A, I'll keep it at A visited, and then I'll go to B and then C. So if I come again A,
but how will
now
you traverse your vertices? You have unique vertices, but there are no edges. So how will you traverse your graph?
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Okay, so brute force. Anybody can think of a brute force solution? Start.
No, I think we can take one hash set based on the count of the attributes in the hash set. We can take the indices between the starting character and the ending character. We can take it as substring from the given string.
Okay.
We have to iterate to each element if we are using brute force. For example, ABC, AB, it is there. So we will see the combination of AB, then ABC, then ABA, and then again BCA, like that.
How many substrings are there in a string? Do the maths and tell me. If the string is of size n, how many substrings are possible?
So without repetition, it's 26 factor.
Not without repetition. I'm just asking how many substrings are possible in a given string of length n?
N plus n individual characters are also substring.
Yes.
Plus all the two combinations.
Awesome. Yes.
which is
So how
n
many
by
are
2.
n by 2?
Two
That's wrong.
combinations, right? 2, 2.
No. So think carefully. They can overlap also. It's not a n by 2.
N into n plus 1 by 2.
That's the total number of, yeah. So basically, if let's take example ABC, right? So of one length substring, there are 3, right?
Mhm.
Of length 2, there is 2, AB and BC. Okay, it will repeat also. So AB and BC. Similarly for ABCD, there are 4 of length 1 and 3 of length 2, right? AB, BC, and CD. Now of length 3, how many are there? So it's ABC and BCD, 2. So you are seeing the property, right? 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. So it will come as n into n plus 1 by 2. So if there are n square possibilities, you need to find the longest. In how much time can we solve this? There are only n square substrings, right? You just need to now find the longest substring without any repeating character. How much time can you solve this? The problem is broken down into
Square
simple
only.
terms, right? There are n square strings. Every string you need to check the length of it and then whether it has any repeating character or not.
If there are n square string, so n square, correct?
In order of one time, you will know if there are repeating characters in a substring. So let's say I give you a string B, right? So length you'll know in order of one time, agreed.
Okay.
Although it's like not trivially, but you can maintain length because the way we are generating the substring, we are generating on the basis of length. So let's assume you know the length in order of one time. But how will you know if they have repeating characters or not? Can you know it in order of one time, or you will have to traverse the string to know that?
Have to traverse the string.
You have to traverse. So again, order of n. So order of n into n square. Order of n cube, you can solve it. Does that make sense? Brute force?
I think one approach could be to use a set. So
Yeah, let's just hold on a minute. We'll come to the next approach. Let's see first this approach is clear to. So brute force is clear to everyone? Or any doubt? In order of n cube, you can anyway solve this problem. Is this point clear or is there any doubt? Okay.
I think it should be more than n cube, right?
Why?
Because let's take an example of ABCD. Okay. Firstly, we will see a combination. Firstly, all the individual elements are there, A, B, C, D. And then we have to see AB combination, then BC combination, CD combination. Okay. 3 combinations are here. Then ABC, again we have to traverse. ABC is a combination, BCD is a combination.
You missed one, ABCD.
Then last will be ABCD.
Yeah. So how many total?
So there will be...
Let me guess, 4 into 5 by 2. 10?
10. Right.
Yeah. So that's order of n square, right? N into n plus 1 by 2 is order of n square. And every string you will traverse to the length of it. Average, we can assume order of n cube, right?
Okay.
Okay. So now let's move from here that in order of n cube, you can anyway solve it. Let's try to solve it in less than n cube. So any solution like n square log n. Let's see if you can solve it in order of n. Can anybody solve it in order of n? Or do you think it is possible to solve it in order of n? Or let's start with the easier approach. Let's try to reduce from n cube. So let me tell you what is the flaw in brute force, which you can use to reduce the complexity. The flaw is that you are generating. So let's say I analyze the string, this string, A, B, C, A, B, right? And I know that there are repeating characters here. So do I need to still analyze A, B, C, A, B, C, the bigger, this string? If I know that a smaller substring of this string has repeating characters, do I need to analyze the bigger string, bigger subpart of it? No, right? So you can now try to use these properties and see if you can reduce the time complexity. One approach which I think initially was suggested that you start traversing, maintain a hash map, When you get a repeat, then what? I think we are stuck there. So now you can start focusing how you can change the algorithm so that you get the correct answer. Yeah, anybody wants to give it a try now?
Aditya, just one thing before we give it a try. So for a string number of given substrings, for ABCD, I'm getting 14.
Okay, tell me the extra
So
4.
there is 1, A, B, C, D. These are the 4.
Awesome.
Okay, then A, B, B, C, C, D, A, D.
AD is not a substring.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aditya?
And for length 4, it will not be 14.
Yeah. No. Then it will be correct. Yeah.
No, even then, like even if you go for subset, what you solved is for subset. Formula for that is 2 power n minus 1.
Correct.
So you will get around 15. You still missed 1.
Yeah, I removed actually CAB from that because it was a permutation. Correct. Sorry.
Okay. Anybody else was saying? Go ahead.
In this hash map 1, as soon as we will encounter any element which is repeated, we will leave all that string itself and we will move to another.
That's again a little incorrect because let's just take this example, ABCA. Or let's take example ABCAD. So let me open this.
Okay, it is incorrect because BCA can be a string.
Yeah, you got it.
I got it.
Okay. So the point that I was trying to make for everybody else, like when you're traversing ABC, you get another A, you can't leave the whole string aside. You have to start from B because BCA is a correct substring, right? And you will miss out this solution. One good example is this. Here answer is WKE. So PW, when you get W, you don't trash this whole PWW and start from K. Okay, even if you start from K, you will get the correct answer here, but let's say this W was not there. So you will tell that the answer is KE, which is incorrect. When you get the repeating W, you have to not leave the whole string aside. You have to start from here so that you get WKE as the correct answer. So you can't leave the whole string as invalid when you get any one repeating character.
So rather than
you have to go to a point where that character initially occurred and then move one character ahead. So this is the solution. So let me explain. The solution is that you will have a dictionary. That dictionary will store the character and the position in which it has occurred. So when I am at A, I will store A at 1, B at 2, C at 3. When I get another A, I get a match in the dictionary, but that doesn't mean anything. I check what is the starting character of the substring I am currently looking at. So I am starting from the 0th character. So I match that this A in the dictionary, what is the position at which it is occurring. If it occurs before the starting point of the substring, then I don't need to worry because A occurred at a point which is insignificant for me because I'm starting the substring at a later point. But here I'm starting from 0. So I get A, 0, B, 1, C, 2. When I get A, I get a match in dictionary. I compare it with the start. So I see my start is as 0 and A is also occurring at 0. So now 0 is not less than 0. If it were less, let's say I started from B, right? So I start from B, write B, 1, C, 2, A, 3. Before writing A, 3, I see that A is at 0. But it doesn't matter to me because my starting of substring is at B, right? So I will always compare the position of the character in the hash map with the starting point. So my starting point was 0 and here A is also at 0. So I do need to consider that. So I just move by the position of previous A plus 1. Okay, that's it. So I will start my substring from C. I have already processed BC, so I don't need to do. I just move the pointer at B. So it's still the 2-pointer approach. You have 2 pointer, both at 0. 1 pointer proceeded till C, everything was fine. When it came to A, then the initial pointer had to be moved again 1 place ahead, right? Because A was a matching character. Now you are at BCA. Now next character comes out to be B. So you again do the same thing. So let's try to write here. So you have A, B, C, A, B, C. We can make it a little more interesting with this. Okay, so let's take this example. So you initially space it out. Okay, so you will start with pointer here and both the pointers here. Now this remains here. You go to B and you have a dictionary. So a dictionary stores A comma 0. And when you get B, then you also store B comma 1. Then you get to C. You see C hasn't occurred till now, so you are happy. And go ahead and make an entry, C comma 2. Now you get A. So when you come to A, you see that A has already occurred, but that doesn't mean I should conclude something. I see what position, and then I check what is my, is this less than my starting position? And my starting position, which is this pointer, it is at 0th position. So I see it is less, it is not less. So I do need to consider this. So all I do is I go ahead and increment my starting pointer to B +1, that's it. And I mark the newly found A's position as 3 because I now I don't need to consider this A. I have already discarded this from the solution set. But before you do this, before all of this, you need to make sure that you store the solution, previous solution. So whenever you get a mismatch, which was at this state, right? You got that, you got a repeat. You need to store the solutions. The current solution length is 3. Because until 3 everything was fine. At when another A came, then we were not okay. When another A came, then what did we do? We found the position of A in the hash map, which was 0, incremented the position of A, updated the position of A in the dictionary, and now we will start the algorithm again. Now we don't need to worry if any repeating character has occurred because we checked till here and this character was only repeated because of A. So everything has occurred only once here. You don't need to worry about it. We will not reprocess. So now again, start pointer is there. Now this pointer will move ahead to D. So I see if D is in my dictionary. I see that it's not. So I go ahead and make an entry, D comma 4. Then I proceed it ahead to B and I see that B has occurred, but still I don't need to conclude anything. I got that B has occurred. To make it interesting, okay, that's fine. So B has occurred and I see that position in B has occurred is 1 and I match it with the start pointer, which is this pointer, position of this pointer, which is again at 1.
We need to increase solution 3 to 4 now when D entered into.
Yeah.
Right?
It will happen at this step only.
Okay.
Wait for it. So 1 is not less than 1, which means what? That I need to update the position of B in my hash map to 5, right? Another thing that we need to do is store the solution. So again, you will store a solution because this is a valid solution and the length of this. So you'll count the length. So you find that the length is 4 as of now. And that's it. You increment the pointer obviously to 1 position. And now again, you need not worry about this substring. Everything will be repeated once. And now you just increment it to 1. Again, do the same thing. See whether C has occurred. C has occurred. What position? 2. Starting point, is it less? No. So we do need to consider. And before that, we just do a +1. After that, we go and update this to 6. We update the solution. We find that the length of this substring is again. So remember this pointer I had incremented. So it was at this position that you found the mismatch. So here before incrementing A, you will find the length, which is again 4. So we'll update that. And now that's it. So your algorithm now gets over because your iterator has reached the end of the string. So now you have considered all possibilities and your answer is 4. Now let's see so I think this is clear. Let's take one small example before we stop. A, B, let's try this. So yeah, I think that was a good example. I think we covered all the cases. So is this clear? This approach is clear?
But Aditya, don't you think that here we are using extra space of hash map?
What is my, okay, let's do, so firstly, approach is clear or any doubt before we go into analysis of this approach?
It's clear.
Any, what about others? Do you want me to repeat it?
Oh, Aditya, I think it's good.
Okay, so now let's do the analysis of this approach. Okay, so we had 2 pointers. One pointer was always moving forward. What about the other pointer, start pointer? Was it also always moving forward?
No.
No. Okay.
As in, not always, but
Yeah, matlab, if at all, it will move forward, right?
yes. Then
So
then
both
it
were
moved
moved
forward. Yes.
Yeah. Now let's see. In total, how many max comparisons we will do, right? Worst case. So what can be a worst case scenario for my if my second pointer keeps moving, it's order of n. I don't need to worry. But if my front pointer also keeps moving, then I will have some extra comparisons, right? So let's see how frequently can the start pointer move. So the worst case possibility is that all characters are repeating, right? So second pointer will also keep moving forward and first also. In this case, how many comparisons do we do? Is it still in order of n or
2n.
still order of n, right?
2n, right.
So it is order of n. First thing, time complexity wise. Space complexity wise, what is the space complexity?
Uh,
O of 1.
No hash map we are using, so
So
n
it should be
maximum
O of
for hash-
26. O of 26, right?
it can be capital A also, right? So
52.
but we can't give it a constant value, so it is n only, right?
No,
O
I
of
think we can give constant if we. I'm not sure.
That's actually correct. So both things are correct. But if it depends on the question, good analysis. So if it is small characters, then 26. If it is both alphanumeric, then it's more than 26. But the entire character set generally fits to 56, right? So because one character is how many bytes? It's 1 byte, right? 1 byte has how many bits? 8 bits. 8-bit can have how many maximum characters? 2 power 8. 256, right? Not more than that. Okay. Unless you start including Unicode characters, and then obviously, if the character set is infinite, then we'll have a cap on order of n. But which is not generally the case. So I would say order of 1. Right?
we do give this 256 like constant as a in a complexity.
No, we don't. We say it is constant. Because when we do analysis, we analyze it for very large values of n. So constants are constants. Unless it is comparable to your range of n.
Because here it is 256, so we will take it as 1, right? Because we know that.
Not really true. N's range is not given. But if, let's say I say that n's range is 1000, then you can't take 256 as constant. Right? I say if n is 1000 and you're talking about 256, it's no more a constant now. Although it doesn't grow with n growing, but now your n has a max cap on 1000 and 1000 is comparable with 256. But this is just theoretically speaking, anything constant is constant.
But you can't give them that also as O of n, because here also n is fixed, right? Like if you are giving a space complexity as O of 1, so you have to take our time complexity also as O of 1 because n is 256 in our time complexity also, right?
No,
Because
there are 256 unique characters. Characters can be repeated.
okay.
A dictionary will always have unique characters.
And in hash map, we are taking as 256 constant because there we are not allowing repetition. Is
Yeah,
it?
hash map won't have repetitions, right?
Yeah, it won't have.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the point. So yeah, this is the solution. And this is just 20-30 lines of code. So I'm doing the same thing. Instead of a hash map, I'm taking an array of size 256 to save some space here as well. And that's it. Not say space, like lookup in an array is a little more faster than a hash map. If you know that your hash map is very small with respect to size of n, then go ahead with an array. And that's the only thing. Other than that, everything is fine. So this is the step which I was talking about. I check every character, whether it is occurring in the dictionary or not. By default, every character in the dictionary has a position of -1, which will always be less than start. If you use a hash map, you will have to take care that whether you have found it or not, all of those check has to be there. In my case, I initialize every character with position -1. I just check the position of that character is less than start or not. That's it. That's all I'm concerned. If it is less than start, I don't need to worry. I update my hash map, increase the solution count. And when I see that any character is repeating inside my range, then I do a few things, all of which I discussed. Increase the start pointer by previous position +1, update the dictionary, update the answer, and this is updating the length of the new answer, found answer. So current solution minus, after incrementing the start pointer, what will happen? So this is it. So previous start position minus the current start position, you remove that substring from the current solution and add +1. So the usual stuff like we discussed, and then just at every step I'm finding out the max and then I return the max.
Okay, Aditya, just one doubt. So when this problem is, let's say, asked in an interview, so should we first mention some steps like you have only 40 minutes to answer that, correct? So how should we should first orally tell that this
You
is
don't
what
have
we
30 minutes to answer, by the way. You have probably
30 minutes, 20 to 30, 25 minutes.
Yeah, 15-20 minutes to from the problem statement to the solution. Yeah, go ahead now. Yeah.
So in that time, should I start writing the code, jump on it right away? Maybe it's a problem which I have solved and I remember the...
Yeah, then if you remember, then why you will just write the solution, right? Yeah.
Okay.
If you have seen the solution, you'll write it. You'll write the solution.
Okay.
If you haven't seen, you'll think. That's it. Don't play games because time is considered. So generally 45 minutes, 2 questions. You don't have much time actually. So if this ideally has to be done max 15-20 minutes, not more than that. If you are in good practice, it will take 10 minutes. Right, max.
Okay.
Okay, now let's come to another question. So let's see. Everybody is familiar with heaps. I have some good problems, but let's see. How many of you guys know about heaps? Just let me know. How many of you don't know about heaps? Okay, no solutions, please. I will check the solutions. I won't be able to check the solution right now, obviously. Do you guys know about heaps?
Yes.
How many people don't know about heaps? Let's just do it this way. It's okay if you don't know. We will do some other problem. Let's do this. Okay, so this is a very classical problem. How many of you have seen this? Edit distance, is everybody familiar with this?
Yeah.
Okay, what is edit? What is the problem?
So problem means that how much should I change word 1 compared to word 2? The minimum number of characters I need to add or remove to make it word 2.
Okay, fine. Others, how many of you know about edit distance? So we'll change it a little.
I don't know about it.
That's okay.
I was asked in an interview yesterday itself.
Fine. So as it is a little easy, but it can be made complicated. Okay, so let's start with this. So let's start with the basic problem. You have 2 words, word 1 and word 2. You need to find minimum number of operations to convert word 1 to word 2 and word 1 to 2. And you have 3 valid operations. You can insert, you can delete, you can replace. This is very, like, if you have done a little bit of theory in your college, then this is that type of problem which is generally taught in a course. And it is straight out of the textbook, this problem. So you can insert, delete, and replace, and you need to find how many operations, minimum number of operations required to convert word 1 to word 2. Obviously, this is a dynamic programming problem. Now we'll give you an example. So let's see. Race and ace, right? So, and the operations permitted are insert and replace. So what do I mean by insert? So by insert, I mean that you can insert any single character. Okay, character is always single, so you can insert any character at any position. This is insert. I need to write single because this will be counted as one operation. Okay, so all of these has one op will be counted as one operation. Insert, delete, and replace. Delete is you can delete any again single character at any position, and similarly replace also means the same. You can replace any single character, and all of these will be one operation. So let's take this example. So race and lace. So if I replace this L by R, then I'm done, right? So now W1 and W2 will be same. So your goal is to make W1 and W2 same by carrying out insert, delete, and replace operations. You can choose any of them at any point, but you have to do it in least number of operations. You can't say that I will delete this A, one operation, I'll make this R, second operation, and again insert A. Although it is valid, but it is not least. I have one way in which I take the least number of operations to do this. Another operation can be, let's say we have dance here, and here we have chance. So now how many minimum number of ways? So if I delete this H and I replace this C, then in 2 operations I can do least. These are minimum number of operations, right? So answer will be 2. 2 ops. You just need to return 2. In 2 operation, I can convert dance to chance or chance to dance. A good thing is that if chance is word 1 and dance is word 2, then also it's same. So you don't need to worry about the order of occurrence. The answer remains same. The least number of operation remains same. The problem statement is clear to everyone. Anybody struggling with this problem? Okay. So now that the problem is clear, let's see how can you solve it. So go ahead or give it a try. How can you solve it?
Brute force can be comparison of all element, like all words, and then replace that word with that word one. Like each character.
Brute force can be that. Sorry.
Brute force can be comparison of each character, and if it is not present, so adding that character. But that can't be minimal.
That won't be least. That won't be least, yeah. If not brute force, how will you solve it? Like, just think, how can we solve this problem? Anyone wants to go? How will you solve this?
So Aditya, if I start from word 1, character 1, and word 2, character 2, I think I'm thinking in brute force only. And I keep going ahead until I meet a both some place where both the characters are equal, which will be A.
Okay.
And until I find that point, the moment I find that point, I keep comparing them till the point they are equal. As in, I again start comparing them, and maybe there is some suffix after A and C as well. So when they become unequal, then I again know from that point till end of the string they are unequal. So in between there will be some match.
So like in this example, what you will do? So,
So
you
in-
have E and here C. What do you do?
Here, so if it is there, I'll move. Okay, I can't move both of them. Correct. No, this won't work.
Aditya, can we find substring of each character of word 2 in word 1? For example, in word 2, C. Okay, so we will find substring in dance, that is it present or not. For example, we reach to CHA, okay, and we find a substring in word 1 A. So A, before A we have a D in word 1. So in word 2, before A we have CHA. So we can replace that CH with D, and each character has a substring in word 1. That can work. But if
Work
repetition...
for this example, right? Not every time. Okay, so turns out it's a little complicated problem to solve. Can anybody think of a brute force solution? Just randomly, not randomly. Like think. Okay, so think in this line. Let's say, let's do it this way. I see that in one operation, can I change it or not? So how many possible strings can be generated if I do one operation? So one insert. So there are only 26 characters. So 26 possibilities if I insert one character. How many positions I can insert? It's n, right? These will all generate. So if I insert it at all possible characters at all possible places, but only once, I will get all possible strings that can be generated if I insert one time in word 2, right? Now, similarly in delete, so I can delete only n characters, right? N different characters. I can delete C, H, A, N, C, or E. And after that, I can check if it is matching or not. Again, similarly for replace, I can replace any character with any possible character. So again, 26 into n, these will be. So at every step, we have 53 times n, which is order of n. At every step for one, I can generate order of n strings, right? And I will match if it is same or not. And for all of those n strings that I generate, again, I can do one operation and see if it is matching. So you're getting it, right? So basically for chance, I generate all of this 53 into n strings. And for all of this 53 into n string, I will again repeat the same procedure and keep going until I get a match of dance. And this will definitely solve this problem. But what is the time complexity?
Aditya, I didn't got that. 26 into n is we can insert 26 character at n places.
You have to insert at only one place and only one character, but you have 26 choices and n choices where you can insert and 26 choices of what you can insert.
So in delete also it should be 26, right? Because we can delete 26 element, one element.
You can only delete one of these n element, right? There is no other thing that you can delete. Only in insert and replace, you have to replace it with something, right? In insert, you have to choose, you have chosen the position. Now you have to also choose the character. You have 26 choices for that. Similarly for replace, but in delete, you have only one thing you have to do. You have to delete any one character. Make sense?
Yeah.
So what is the time complexity of this if you go by this approach?
N cube.
N cube. Why n cube?
Because
At every, for one operation you have n possibilities. For two operation, how many possibilities will you have? One operation, if I do one operation, I can generate order of n
n
strings.
square.
First case n square.
For two operation, it will be n square. For three operation, it will be
N cube.
for four,
N to the power 4.
and at max you will do n, right? N power n. N power n is exponential, but you will be able to solve this problem.
But for what operation you're talking about? Insert, delete, and replace only, right?
Yeah, I will do all possibilities. Yeah, I'm doing all the possibilities, right? At every step, I'm generating all possible solutions on one operation. And for all of these possibilities, I repeat it again for one operation, again for another operation. The moment I get dance, I stop. So I don't look any other possibilities because that is the lowest possible way in which I can generate it. Make sense? So brute force part is clear to everyone that if I go ahead and solve it in brute force, it will take n power n. Right? Because the way I'm brute forcing it is that I say that let's see if I can solve it in one, and I generate all possible strings that can be possibly be generated with one operation. Then I say let's generate all possibilities I can generate for two operations, and I see there are n square. Then I do for three. Let's say at four I get dance, then I stop. I don't iterate it further because that's the lowest number of way in which I could have got the solution. If I would have gotten it in three, then I would have stopped at three because I didn't get a dance at three from chance. That's why I'm going ahead till now. So this is again, you can think it like a tree that at every child has n nodes. Every node has n child, and this tree is an n-ary tree. And at n levels, there will be n power n nodes. So worst case, you will be doing this operation n times. And n power n, you will definitely solve this. Okay. Now let's see how we can optimize it. So the way you optimize, anybody wants to tell the solution for those who saw it before? Okay. How will you solve this problem in polynomial time? Anybody wants to go? Okay, so the solution is simple and it uses dynamic programming. And the solution is that you pick, so this is dance and this is chance. And it is on the lines of what we have done. We will just add one. So this will be exactly the solution that I discussed. There will be one layer on top of it, which you will know, which is called memoization, that we won't repeat for strings that have already occurred. And this is how it will go. So you have, let's say, chance, and you have dance. And now we will define a state. Okay. And we define a state like, let's say, I know, or let me say that I know in how many edit distance, how many least number of operations are required to convert, let's say, chance to, so I will tell a state dpij, and dpij will mean, so I is a iterator here and j is a iterator here. So what dpij means? Dpij means is that in word 1, from 0 to I, this substring, and word 2, from 0 through j, this substring, for these two substrings, let's say I know the solution for this somehow. This is how we work with DP. So I know the solution for this. Let's say it is K. So for this substring, I know the solution. For dpij, I know, let's say that at a distance solution is K. So if I know this, so let's say my I and j are here. Now, if I know the least number of ways in which I can do that. Now I have E and E, right? Both E are same. So if I know that in K edit distance, I can solve chance and dance, then with this E being same in both places, I don't need to do any operation. Let's say it was not same, it was F. So now all I need to do is that I know DANC can be converted into CHANC in, let's say, K steps. So in how many steps I can convert E to F? It's one replace, right? So this will be the logic of the algorithm. That, and the DP turns out to be this, the DP ij will be equal to, you will check whether I is equal to j. So you will check if word1 I is equal to word2 j. So if they are equal, then what do we do? If they are equal, then in this case, I don't need to do much.
Minimum of the previous solution. Yeah.
Not minimum. So all I need to do is, if they are same, then I will go dp I minus 1 j minus 1.
Yeah, diagonal value.
What is the answer of this? Because E is same, right? So I don't need to worry. So if I get this answer, I know the solution. So this is case number 1, if they are same. What if they are not same, right? What if they are not same? Then what do we do? If they are not same, turns out there are only 3 things I can do. I can insert, replace, or delete. Okay. So if W1 is not equal to W2, then let's say I try to insert and make it same. So I will do all the 3 steps. So let's say I will choose the operation insert to make it same. So E and E are same. Still, let's say I choose to insert E to make it same. So if I insert and my word 2, let's say I'm doing all operations on word 2, right? Or let's remove this. So this is word 1, as we have this word 2. And I have to convert word 2 to word 1. Okay. So if word 1 and word 1 I and word 1 j is same, then it's simple. I will just find what is the solution of dp I minus 1 j minus 1. I don't need to do any operation. If they are not same, then I say, okay, I will insert and make the last position same. So I will say that I will make chance equal to dance. I am blind towards what is before. I'm just looking at ith and jth character. So let me explain like this. Chance, and I'm not looking at this, I'm just looking here, and you have, let's say, something like that. Okay. So they are not same, E and F. So I say, so I firstly will choose the approach of inserting and making it same. So this approach tells that I will insert E in front of it and I'll make it same. Okay. So if I choose to do this, then what is my DP? So my DP is I minus 1 j, right? Because your string was, this was your original string, right? You have inserted E, E and E are same, but you still need to know in how can you convert CHANC to DANCF, right? And this is, right? And if this is I, E you have inserted, so this was J before. So DP I
It
minus
should be
1.
K minus 1 and I J minus 1, right? Because we are converting
Okay.
dance to Jans.
Hold on. So I is at E and J is at F. When we started, we were here. Okay. This is your I pointer and this is your J pointer. I told that I will insert and make it same. So I inserted E. Make sense? Now E and E are same.
Sorry, I don't know that.
Sorry. Now E and E are same. So now we need to just check in how many ways can chance be equal to, in how many edit distance can you make CHA and C equal to DA and CF, right? So your J is not changed. So your J is J, but your I is I minus 1. Okay, so you need to look at it a little more carefully. This was your ith position. Ith position is unchanged. We go to I minus 1 because C is at I minus 1. But your J was here. You inserted something in front of it. So your J actually didn't change. So it is dp of I minus 1 J, right? And plus 1, which is one operation for the insert.
Okay.
Hold on, things might be clear a little later.
So we are indirectly backtracking it, right? As soon as we are moving.
Yes, yes. We'll come to how we will iterate and solve. Firstly, let's come up with the state. So if it is equal, we have solved. If it is not equal for insert, we have solved. Now who will solve it for delete? What if I choose to make, so I was at this state, right? I'll keep my state always same. So again, the same problem. I chose insert to solve the previous time. This time I will choose delete to solve it. So if I delete this character, right? Then how will you, then what I'm looking at? Then I'm actually looking at, can everybody tell? If I choose
G minus 1.
Okay, J minus 1 and what about I?
I.
Firstly I, yeah, I and J minus 1, that's right. Makes sense, right? Because you have deleted this character. So now you need to make chance equal to DA and C. So your new problem statement is I remains I and J goes J minus 1. That's it. And obviously you add 1. Okay. And the last thing is replace. So again, the same statement. You are at this state and you choose the method of replace. So obviously I'm not a fool, so I'll replace it with E, right? I'll just see key, what is word 1 I, what is word 2 J. If they are not same, I'll make word 2 J equal to word 1 I. I'll make it E. And now what does this boil down to?
I and J.
I minus 1, J minus 1.
Minus 1.
G minus 1.
Minus 1. Right? Plus
1.
Okay. So that's it. This is the solution. So if word 1 is equal to word 2, then dp ij is equal to dp j minus 1. If not, then you take min of these and set this to dp ij equal to. Sir. Okay. Somehow not allowing me to indent, but this is the solution. So now this is the state. This is not the solution. This is the state. What is a state? That we assume somehow magically we know how to calculate solutions for previous state and try to solve for dpij. How many of you have heard about mathematical induction? It works on the same way, right? We assume we know solution for k and we solve it for k plus 1. If you can prove it, then it proves the whole conjecture, right? It's on the same lines that you try to solve it for I comma j with and assume all the necessity, like I minus 1 j minus 1, you know the solution. I minus 1 j, you know the solution. I j minus 1, you know the solution. I minus 1 j minus 1, you know the solution. Come up with a state. After this, the trick comes that how should we iterate I and j so that we can solve it for I minus 1 j minus 1. Sorry, I comma j. So a simple way to do that is that you write I comma j depends on what to solve this. So it depends on I minus 1 j minus 1, right? It also depends on I minus 1 j. It also depends on I comma j minus 1, right? So imagine dpij as a 2D matrix, which it is, right? And you are at a particular cell I comma j, and you are looking for I minus 1 j comma minus 1, which is diagonally opposite, like southwest. right? Southeast, sorry, southwest or southeast, depending how you are treating your axis. So this is a diagonally opposite. Then I minus 1j, just one below, and ij minus 1 towards your west, right? So how will you iterate and solve this? So turns out if I move from, let's say, bottom to up, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, then 1, 0, 1, 1. So if I do a bottom up traversal, there are many ways in which you can iterate. One of the way will be like this. That's it. You will be able to solve this. Obviously, you need one more small thing. There is the base condition. Like in recursion, here also you have a base condition. This is the first value that you want. Has to be there, right? Like dp 0, 0, we have to know in order to solve other problems. Okay, obviously there are a few conditions more that you need to take care, like I minus 1. These can't be negative, so you'll have all those checks. And all you need to do is come up with a base condition. So base condition will be, what will be solution of dp 0, 0? Or in fact, what will be solution for dp 0, let's say j? What does 0, j state mean? That there is no character in the first string and your second string has j characters. So in how many operations can you make word 2 similar to word 1? J, right?
J.
Their base condition. Similarly, another base condition, dp I, 0. This will be equal to
I.
So if this is a 2D matrix, you have already filled the first column and first row, and now you need to just proceed with it and you will be done. So we'll start with I, 1 and j, 1. Now you don't need any corner cases. Everything will be positive. And if you copy paste this code in LeetCode, it will give a correct solution. Okay, so this is how you solve. Let's see if my code is there. Yeah, so that's it. So this is how you solve for such type of problems. A few things that you will see, that my dp should be n plus 1 m plus 1, because depends how you solve it actually. Now these are my base conditions, I, m and m. My state is a little different than yours. That's why you will find it a little bit different, but all in all, I also do the same. If word I is equal to word j, then the solution is, so I'm going, instead of bottom to up, I'm going top down, right? Don't get confused. Actually, I should. Oh yeah, don't get confused.
What is the difference between top down and bottom up?
This is the difference. That's it. No, not much. So instead of going back, I'm going forward. So what I mean is that at D and at chance, I'm solving for D and C, and I know that I know the solution for A and C and H A and C. That's the only difference. This is called bottom up. This is called top down. Make sense? Yes. Here, I assume that I know the solution for previous ones. I'm solving it for a later one, right? Here I'm saying I already know how to solve the later ones. Solve it for the first one. Okay, so bottom to up. Bottom up. Top to down is top down. Anyways, recursion remains same. So minimum of diagonal 1 below, 1 above, plus 1. And if it is equal, then you take min off. Obviously, I have to always take min, right? I can't replace ij with just this. So I go to the diagonal element and I take min with the current value, whatever was there. And I recurse it. See, my recursion is how it is bottom up. From n minus 1, I'm going to 0. Here I'm going from 0 to 1 to n. Okay, both are correct. And you will solve this problem. My solution is dp 0, 0. Here your solution will be dp n, n. Okay, j will be till. Makes sense? Any doubt in this problem?
What would be the recursive way to solve this? Like usually how I approach DP is by first doing it recursively and then using
Same. So
normalization.
you have written the state, you can solve it recursively. Like there should not be any problem. You can solve either ways, right? Iterative or recursive. Instead of calling DP as an array, you will call DP as a function, and that will make your code recursive, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hello, are you able to hear me? Sorry, my electricity went out. So just give me a minute. Are you guys able to hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Hello? Just give me a minute. So let me now stop sharing my start sharing my screen. So I was saying that let's say now you have costs on your insert, delete, and replace. Instead of they being like everything was same, now I add costs. So all changes is that here you add C1, C2, and C3. Okay. And then your solution changes.
Aditya, somebody asked a question regarding recursion. So this is also recursion itself, right? Because we are calling DP I minus 1, ij minus 1 with this.
So this is like a 2D array where you are filling values. So your DP is, this is a 2-dimensional array. Okay. And you are just filling it, right? Firstly, you filled for 0, comma j. Obviously, iterate and fill for I, comma 0. And then you do a for loop. And that's it. You are done. Your solution is DP n m. Make sense?
Yes.
Right? It's like filling a 2-dimensional matrix. Right? Because all I need to know if I'm at I, comma j, I need to know diagonally below, just below and towards my left. And all of that I will know. We discussed this, right? We will fill the first row, first column, and then go from bottom to up. And then you also saw how the code would look like if I solve it top to down. Fine. Recursively, instead of having a 2D matrix, you will use a recursion. Doesn't matter. It's quite the same. This will be much faster than recursion in terms of execution. So yeah, so I was saying if costs get added, then it changes a little bit. And then the problem can also change. Like instead of insert, delete, and replace, this problem can be put as a different way. Like you have to transform one thing to another thing, and you have three steps in which you can transform all of them boil down to edit distance. So this was for string. Now let's say I'm doing it for shapes. You can cut it, you can paste it, or you can replace it, something like this. Again, it can be more complicated with a 2D array to make two 2D arrays same, and there will be a list of steps that you can do. It gets a little bit complex, but the idea remains same, that you need to come up with a state, and basically this is where you have to majorly concentrate on. And then if you write bottom to up or top to down code, it will work. So this is the idea of edit distance. I hope you guys are able to get it. So any questions on this problem? Any doubt?
Can you briefly
Anybody?
cover how we would solve for shapes?
For?
For the shapes, 2D shapes. That
Yeah,
is
Mala, I just gave you example. Like I will have to frame a question properly first. And then my point was that there are other problems out there based on edit distance, which from 1D they can get to 2D. From strings they can get changed to, like, let's say shapes. So for shapes, there was some problem which I was like I did quite some time before. It's on dominoes. So dominoes as in so it was kind of like this, that you need to fill a rectangle Yeah, sorry guys. Electricity. I'm not on UPS, so electricity came back another outage. You guys are able to hear me, right? Okay. Able to hear me? I can see. I think.
Yes, yes.
So this is the one problem. Let's do another problem. We have some time. Unless you have any other doubt there. Someone was asking. I got cut off in middle. The problem was that you are given tiles. There are different shapes. One is L shaped, one is let's say T shaped, one is square shaped, and then you have to fill a wall of size n by m. Every tile has cost, and you had to minimize the cost of tiling it. And then it was on the lines of this, but the DP was much more complex than edit distance string DP. So that was the only difference, but the logic remains same. So we have covered DP, so I will not take a DP problem. Let's see some medium problem.
Aditya, when we take premium of lead code, so the visibility of questions are same, like, because normally when we solve the same way it comes.
I have just taken it I just took it 1 month back, 1 or 2 months back, and I haven't used lead code without premium, so I can't answer that. I don't know.
Is it worth like taking the premium?
It's not too expensive. I think it is.
Yeah.
It is, I don't know. I got it at some discount, so I think it is worth it because, like, let me show you why I think it's worth it. So, like, let's say this is the problem, right? So you read the problem, You write the solution, you try to submit. Let's say something happened, you were not able to solve it. Then there is a solution about it. Approaches are discussed. Then you can see, discuss where people write the explanations, right? And obviously the test cases are exhaustive. So let's see. So let's see that I submitted it, right? So let's say I got accepted. So inside this, you can see the test cases maybe. So 987 test cases. So this is quite detailed, right? So I think it's worth it. If you pass the test kit, it means that you're solving it the right way. Okay, so I was asking one question, right? How many of you know about heaps? Let's do this problem. It's not here, but we can cover it. Okay, so let's do the simple one first. Okay, so how many of you know merge sort? How many of you know merge sort? What merge sort is?
Yeah, and no, but
like if I ask you to explain how merge sort works, can you explain it? Like detailed idea about merge sort. All of us use sort, right? But all of us use STL sort. How many of you remember how merge sort actually works?
It's a divide and conquer basically.
Okay,
yes.
that is fine. Elaborate.
We
How it
divide
works?
we divide all the elements in an array to half, and then we divide it to half, and then we divide it to half, and then we compare it, and then we
Compare it with what?
Sorry.
Compare it with what?
With when we reach to, like, when two elements are there, we will sort those two elements. Then we will
How? How you
like.
sort those two elements?
Sorry.
How will you sort two elements?
By comparing both of the elements, that which is less and which is
Okay,
greater.
now, okay. After that, after you have after two elements, you will reach to a state where four elements are there. Then how will you sort them?
Then initial two elements are already sorted. After that, both of the elements are sorted. So only comparing last of initial and start of the second one. Actually, I forgot 2 years back. I have prepared for interviews at that
Yeah,
time.
so a critical step there is called merging of two sorted linked lists. Two sorted lists. That's why merge sort.
And its complexity is also like n log n. I think it's very less compared to other sorting.
Yeah. So one of the intermediate step is called merging two sorted lists. Okay. So she was right till quite some time until this step. So what do you do is that you keep dividing the array into half unless every partition has one element. A one element array is always sorted, turns out. So what do you do then is that you start merging two sorted lists. So initially you will merge two sorted lists of size 1. Okay. You will not sort it like by comparing. You will just merge. You will again apply the same logic. You will merge two sorted lists. And how do you merge two sorted lists? It is done by, again, you have 2 pointers. You compare this, let's say 1 and 2. So 1 is smaller one. So you write 1 in the resultant array and you increment this pointer. The another pointer doesn't even change. Now you compare 3 and 2. 2 is less, so you write 2 and you increment 2. Now you compare 3 and 4. Now 3 is less, so you write 3, increment 3. And then you come to 5, compare 4 and 5, write 4, increment this pointer to 6. Come here, then 5 and 6, write 5. This array is done iterating. So all the elements now in the list 2 can be directly appended here. Turns out there is only one element, so 6. So this is how we sort. So what is the time complexity of merging two sorted lists? Can anybody tell?
M plus n.
Yeah, order of n. Correct. So order of n at every step. And how many steps are there in merge sort?
Okay.
Because you divided by 2, right? So log. So that's the n log. Okay. So this was just a warm. The real problem is that instead of 2 lists, you have k lists. And the sizes are also not same. Like one can be something like this. Okay, all of them are 5, but they are sorted. So now how will you merge k sorted lists into one list? This is the problem. How will you solve this problem? So for 2 lists, you had 2 pointers. You're comparing both of them. For 3 lists, how will you do? You'll have 3 pointers. How will you find the minimum every time?
Comparing each element of 3 of the list and increasing the pointer, whatever is the smaller
And
one.
so if there are k lists, you will have k pointers. And at every step, you need to find which is the smaller out of these k, correct?
Right.
And in how much time can you find which is the smallest element from k elements? Order of k. And then the complexity becomes order of nk, right? Problem is that this is not optimized. Can we reduce the complexity? Because n into k is not, it's a little more. How can you make it less than n into k?
So to find the minimum or maximum from some list, we can use heap data structure. So
Yeah.
that will take log k.
But how? Elaborate.
For example, we are having k lists, then we can insert each character in the heap, each element in the heap, and minimum will always be at the top.
Each element as in which element? So these are the k lists. So what you will insert in the heap?
So when I am at some pointer like I.
Initially every pointer is at 0. Okay.
Yeah.
What you will do?
Then I will insert 0th element of each list into heap.
Okay, done. Now
Minimum will be at the top in the min heap.
If it is a min heap, yes.
Yes.
True. Now what you will do?
Now I can take out the minimum.
Okay, what operation in heap? Can you delete in a heap?
Yes, we can delete and insert in a heap, and it takes log k for insertion and deletion.
Can you delete any element in a heap and it takes log n time?
No.
No.
Only top of the heap we can delete.
Top only.
Right?
Top of heap you can delete, you're right. So minimum element you can get in order of 1 time actually in a heap. And you can extract min, you can do it in order of log n. Okay, fine. Till here we are fine. Now what do you do? So you get the minimum element as there are 2 minimum element here. Let's say you get one of them. Now what do you do?
Increment the pointer for this.
How? So I got one. I don't know which one it is, right? This or so now how do I increment?
We can store the pairs in the heap.
Okay.
Of the list it is in, and the basically the
now
pointer.
I'm storing the pair. So I know which list also. So now what do I do?
So when we are extracting the min, we get the pointer as well. So we increment the pointer. And then we again do heapify.
Heapify happened in extract min. You insert the new element in the heap.
Yeah, the current pointer.
And then you repeat this all over again.
Right.
So what is the time complexity now? From order of n into k it becomes?
Order of n into log k.
And log k.
Yes, n log of k. Yeah. This is the correct answer. But as easy as it sounds, how will you write code for this? Because you can't use
Aditya, one doubt. So how did we decide that which so sorry, maybe I missed the heap part. So if let's say 2 lists have the same element, how do we come to know that which list are we getting? this element from?
So the solution which was suggested is that we will insert a pair. We'll insert the element and from which list it is.
Oh, okay.
So some struct we will insert in the heap.
Yeah. That's what has been suggested. So that's what I was coming next problem to. So this is the correct solution, but how will you implement it? Because if you start writing code for heap to solve this problem, it will take forever. You can't finish writing code in 20 minutes, right?
Yes.
So there is a priority queue implementation of heaps in all languages, but now you are inserting struct in that. So the only detail is that you will have to write a custom comparator for the priority queue. So you should be familiar with that. Instead of going ahead and writing heap code, you should use priority queue. But priority queue will not be an integer; it will be a pair or a struct, whatever you are using, and you will have to write a comparator for that. Okay, so that is point number one. Secondly, in a priority queue, you get the minimum element, but can you delete from a priority queue, whatever priority queue you are using? Is it possible to delete?
You can just make it maximum.
No, you can delete. So you can erase. So this also depends on how familiar you are with STLs. Only operation of heap that you can't do on a priority queue. Who can answer this? On heaps, there are 4 or 5 operations. There is only one operation of heaps which you can't do in any priority queue, be it Java or C++. Priority queues don't support that. Can anybody answer which operation?
Can you tell what are the 4 operations? Sorry.
Okay. So the first is insert. Okay, obviously. Okay. The second one is get min or max.
Okay.
Priority queue, obviously. The priority queue dot top will ideally give you the minimum or maximum element depending upon what your comparator is, min comparator or max comparator. So insert, top are the 2 basic operations of priority queue. I would say that's it. Nothing else. In heap, and now let's come to the operations on heap. So this will answer the question. In heap, you have a little bit more control. You can insert first. You can get minimum, which is the top. Third is, interestingly, it is called increase key / decrease key. Okay, increase or decrease key, which means if I have in my heap, I have n elements, I can increase the value of one element and then also heapify it. And all of this can be done in log of n time, which is not possible in a priority queue. This operation you can't do in a priority queue. So it is called heap increase key or heap decrease key. This operation can be done in a heap.
This is on any key in the entire heap, is it?
Yeah, any key.
Okay.
If you can increase or decrease that value, and in order of log of n time, you can again heapify it.
Okay. What is meant by increase key and decrease key?
Choose a key and increase or decrease its value, and after that operation, still make it. Basically, update any element in your priority queue and make it a priority queue still. Okay. Priority queues don't allow update of elements, so the elements are const. So you can't. Yeah.
Priority queue is an implementation of heap only. Only these operation they have not allowed.
No, priority queue is not a implementation of heap. Like, because all operations of heap you can't do. It is some mix. It is a good replacement for heap, but there is only one operation which you can't do in a priority queue that you can do in a heap, that I just talked about, heap increase key or decrease key. In this problem, you are not doing that. So you can use priority queues. Only catch was that you need to write a custom comparator, which you should be familiar with. Otherwise, you'll waste 2 hours writing code for heap. That's it. Another point which I wanted to make is that there are many questions where heap increase key or decrease key operation is used. There, you need to be smart enough how you will use that. How many of you know about Dijkstra's algorithm? I'm giving you a practical example where heap increase key is done or decrease key is done. How many have heard about Dijestra's algorithm? Anybody has heard about Dijestra's algorithm?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's used to
That-
find the shortest.
Shortest path.
That uses increase key or decrease key, depends on what heap you are doing and whether you are finding shortest path or longest path. So there, you don't go and write code for heap. There is a smart way in which you can you can do the same operation of heap using a priority queue by doing something. It's a hacky way, but that's the practical way how you'll write code in an interview. Because in an interview, you don't just speak the solution, you have to write the code also. And all of this has to be done in 15-20 minutes. So that was the point. So just go and read about it. How to do increase key. Firstly, see what increase key is, and then try to look online on Google, you'll get it. There is a small hack depending on the problem, different ways we do it. So never write code for heap in an interview, use priority queues. And in merging k-lists, read about custom comparators, even for dictionaries or hash maps or anything. I don't know if you know, there is a hash key function which you can overwrite in Java, in C++. Similarly, for custom comparator in sort, you can write, and all of them are different, at least in C++. The way you define custom comparator for sorting is different. For priority queue, it's a little different. For set, it's different. For hash map, it's different. Syntaxes are a little different. I think similarly in Java, different functions you need to override. So all of these you should know, because you don't have the ID when you write the code. So you won't get any help of like IntelliSense or something. Okay, so that's all from my side actually. Any questions you guys have with this problem or any problem that we did today, or any question in general?
So Aditya, just one thing. So hard questions, I find it difficult to solve within 15 minutes. As in, is it lead code hard problems? They are also asked in these interviews, and
Yeah,
you
ideally you should be able to solve it in 15 to 20 minutes, I would say. If not, then like you have to practice a little bit more.
Okay.
See, hard problems can be a little more, it take a little more time. Generally, if a hard problem is asked, second problem is easy. So the general pattern is 2 medium, or another mix is 1 hard, 1 easy, and another mix is 3 easy. So that's the pattern that we follow in interviews. So if you have asked a hard problem, second problem will be an easy problem, or or an extension to the same problem. We will extend to a little. So like if you solve it at distance, I'll say solve it for with cost. Okay, that's an easy example I'm giving, relevant to what we did today. Or yeah, so that's how. So you can take a little bit more time, but definitely not more than 20 minutes. So forget it. If you're taking more than 20 minutes, you need to practice a little bit more. It is hard, but it's game of practice. Firstly knowledge and then practice. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, Aditya, I have one question. When we work in office, okay, so we look into technology, like we use Kafka, we use many things, okay. And when we prepare for interviews, we focus on algorithms, okay. And in office, when we try to bring these all things into code, so max to max, like max to max tree we use in our codes, right? Not sorry.
Have you used tree?
Yeah, actually, currently we have, I'm in Walmart Labs, so we have implemented, I'm in supply chain technology. So we have we have implemented tree. In designing, we were thinking about it. So max to
why did you implement a tree? Like, was it really necessary?
We were discussing in designing.
To be very frank, I haven't even so I have worked with quite a few companies, and I don't think I have even written code for tree in professional code.
Aditya, I'll tell an example where I had to actually write a tree code, and that too not binary but NRE tree.
I'll tell you, if you are writing that code, then probably you are doing the wrong thing. You have to use a library. So
That way.
it will
But
turn on in
okay,
future.
okay.
I have done all of those. So you can write all of this code, but if you are writing this code, then most likely, if the traffic is too high, or like
Mhm.
if it is a really what do we say, traffic intensive service and a highly operational intensive service, you will never write that code yourself.
Yes, you're right actually. So what we did was we wrote it only once and then we cached it, so that we never had to calculate that tree again. So it was an n-ary tree, and I didn't have any Java library which gives me that.
Yeah, also you were able to push that to production probably uh,
Yes.
because traffic wouldn't be. So I can't imagine doing that sort of
No,
stuff.
that was Economic Times site, and we did for that.
So all of this goes in your back office work that we say. So let's
Yeah.
say I'm working on something where I need to run a data analysis on my database. This is not a production code, right? I'm just
No, no,
doing.
no. It was for production. So I'll tell you the exact use case was to get the latest news of all the existing sections throughout the website.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. Point being is that you. So the question I think was asked is why.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was 1 in 12 years.
Yeah. Malab, you will never write this
Correct.
code.
So my question is like, rarely we use it. We use it, but rarely. So why we study so much in this part, and like not on technical things? Because probably we are using latest technology, right? We have a design discussion of 1 or 2 hour that are we going to use this thing or that thing, but we never like in this implementation all we get a code review like just customize it or do like this. But apart from it, like in interviews they must focus on algorithms rather than technology. So what is the use of this? They
The
should
one thing which I can think of is it's a common ground. First point, right? Common ground as in it's same for everyone. Algorithms don't change. You might know Kafka, I might know SNS. Both do the same thing, but you might not know, right? Message. There are many hundreds of message queues in the market. You just know Kafka. Somebody might know RabbitMQ, and then you can keep arguing unless you know what a message queue actually does. At the end of the day, it is just a queue. So this is kind of a common ground. Point number one. Secondly, it is something to judge on. So I'll give you a very good example. This happens everywhere, right? What about engineering entrance exam? So you study physics, chemistry, and maths, and then you become a computer engineer. So why did we study physics, chemistry, maths at the first place? At least chemistry doesn't make sense. Why do I study that? But I had to study that to clear JEE, right? That is also one. So these are common ground. This happens everywhere. So we can argue on that, but it's just a common ground. Second thing, I think why this is there, because from computer science we have moved to software engineering. So I think what we do in work is nowhere close to what we study in computer science. In fact, you do see people of different streams also doing jobs in Google or anywhere, because software engineering is not computer science, and this is computer science a little bit, at least better than what code that we write in industry these days. So yeah, that's one way to explain. This is just a common ground, I would say. Again, what we are doing right now. So back, if you go back 10 years back, like when we were writing operating systems or something, I have never done that. I'm too young for that. But those who would have written, I'm pretty sure they would have used all of this. But all of those softwares have been written. So now we are now mostly the work that we are doing is integrating with cloud. That's what software developers are doing these days. But someone wrote those things, right? Someone wrote your Windows, someone has written code for Mac, somebody is writing probably code for a game that you are playing. So all of those guys use it, but we don't use it, right? Because we are doing something else.
I think meeting has ended, or
I think he has left due to electricity problem, or he may join again.
Hey, sorry. I'm having some power issues here. So let's wind up. Any more questions, guys?
Hey, hi Aditya, Amit here. So I know this is a session which is based on algorithms and data structures.
Yeah.
So do we have anything, something, the same forum like wherein we are designing system?
Yes, we do have. So there is a system design course, both high level and low level design, which is done in this
Okay,
in
so
Lavender, but not this course, different course, right?
okay, and like designing a solution using the latest tech stack, like
No,
what?
so you won't. So it will be more like yeah, something like that. So low level design, you study about design patterns, like singleton, observer design pattern, abstract factory, decorator, strategy, chain of responsibility, multiple of them. I think there are 8 to 10 design pattern. High level design, you study about the basics of system design, like CAP theorem, and CAP theorem is just the like basic, and then you do study a little bit more about all components, like what cache does, what load balancer does, design a few systems.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
this is the pattern.
So I was following. This is a different thing. So I was following Ajay, that Tech Primer one. So wherein he threw some challenge wherein you to design a production system and what tech stack would we all be using, whether it's a Kafka, whether it's a Spring Boot, and what part of Spring Boot, what observability stuff we'll be using. So that kind of an end-to-end production-like system, which we would like to have. Given a chance to design something, what tech stack, what components would be our latest one, or something like that. So
okay,
can we have, just a suggestion, if at any day we can have one session wherein we discuss our architecture, wherein what should architecture contain, which logging framework, which is the best one, which we encountered, or in fact the Saga one in the microservices.
So like you want a course which is there, or like I didn't
so one day, can we spare one day, or we can have one Zoom session wherein a production system is explained?
Oh, that. So you want a demo for system design,
Yeah,
right?
yes. And that to a production like wherein we are having different components there, like a microservice
You
service.
can get in touch with Aditya about this, not me. Aditya Singh. You can get in, or whomever you contact with this topic.
Aditya, any new course will start system design and low level design?
Any?
New batch will start. New batch will start for yours.
Yeah, new batches keep starting. I think it's every time some new batches.
No, when will be your next batch yours?
Of mine?
Yeah.
You need to again. You need to get in touch with Aditya. So like we create batch when we have a few students. So get in touch with him. He will let you know.
Okay.
Okay.
One
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
The topic for today's discussion was Facebook interview. So, is there something that you would like to share?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. So, what problems we did were Facebook interview problems.
Oh, okay. And relating to like what we were discussing before, so yeah, in industry there are a lot of things that we use apart from the algorithms and data structures, and there are a few companies apart from like these top companies, SaaS algorithms, who basically focus on these technologies and more on the like what you have worked upon, and maybe pay equally, not if not less. So
there is no comparison actually. So I wouldn't say like top four. So like it's perception that people have, right? Nobody's claiming they're top company. So If you want to get in that company, then this is the process. There are other companies which are not taking. If you think they are good, you can go ahead with that. And in fact, there are many companies which are better than these 4 companies. Better is a very vague term, right? In what sense are you talking better? Better quality of work? Obviously, there is much more better quality of work out there. Probably you can do a PhD and get a much better quality of work. But it's not about work. Mostly it's about the pay, and then people will keep giving the interview, right? So the work is shit anyways. Yeah. So any other questions? Okay, then thank you guys. We'll end the session. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.